Hello my darlings, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another ZADR fanfiction reading. Today I have a very small fic. It's allegedly it takes 23 minutes to read. It is ZADR A Small Bite by Dazai_522 on Wattpad. And the description is, what if Zim were deserted by his tallest? What if Zim did something he may regret? May contain some explicit language and sexual scenes. So, quite a standard, a try and true ZADR fanfiction plot. You know, it's so good. The movie did it, so you know it works. So it says it's complete, fingers crossed. I really am short on time when it comes to this video, so no matter how it ends, it's what we get. So let's just start reading. Chapter 1, Broken Circuit. It was a snow day and school was cancelled, thankfully. Dib was of course in his room on his computer. He was 16 years old now, and he was still into the whole exposing Zim thing. He was watching Zim on his computer, since he's hacked into Zim's system, and was watching the alien. Zim had been working on a very high-tech looking thing. Dib didn't even know what it was. He watched closely as the Urkin was at work. Occasionally, he'd scream at Gur for messing something up. "Gur! Stop messing with the—" Suddenly, the Urkin raised his antennas as if he'd heard something. He cautiously looked around as Dib got closer to the screen. What's his problem? Dib talked to himself. He was staring at the screen for the longest time, watching the alien with interested brown eyes. He was wondering why Zim looked so skittish all of a sudden. Gur? What are you doing to— Gur! Right before Zim's eyes, Gur destroyed the device the alien was working on. Zim was astonished, for Gur had his duty mode on and was destroying the device. He was planning on making a device that would tear the universe apart, but Gur had destroyed it. Gur! How dare you destroy what Zim was working on? But Gur didn't hear. He still had the red robot eyes and was looking at Zim. He seemed unrecognizable. Must destroy Master. Gur inched forward, almost hitting Zim with lasers, but the Urkin dodged with ease. Of course, with the help of his military Urkin training. Dib was abashed at how Gur, Zim's evil robot dog thing, could turn on him so violently. But yet, he watched as Zim tried his best to dodge. Zim's packed legs were out, dodging every attack Gur did. Soon, Gur turned off, falling to the ground. Zim, confused as ever, stayed where he was for a second, before going and poking at Gur. Dib watched as Zim mumbled something to himself and put Gur on a metal table. Stupid broken robot. Zim always having to fix you. The next day was a nice cold evening. Zim got up from his alien bed and made his way down to the lab. School was about to start, but he was more focused on fixing Gur as of right now. He started working on him, and hours seemed to pass when the computer shouted, "Enemy approaching! Enemy approaching!" Zim stopped what he was doing and put on his disguise, and went up to the tube to the main area of the house. He put his hand on the wall where an Urkin hand scanner appeared. The door disappeared, but the human outside it couldn't see. Zim saw it was Dib, so he opened the door. As soon as the door opened, Dib spoke. "Zim! I noticed you weren't at school today. I was wondering if anything weird happened to you yesterday." The Dib thing's being weird, Zim thought. So he tried shutting his front door in case the Dib had anything up his sleeve. However, Dib put his hand on the door, pushing it open. Zim growled and glared at him with aggression. Zim wasn't happy right now. Gur was broken, and his device had been broken, so his plans had failed. It would take at least a month before he could be able to get the parts he needed again. Dib could tell Zim was quite angry, but unfortunately, Dib didn't care. Zim was the alien and he was the human. He had to stop the alien from any more evil plans he had before it was too late. He knew Zim had some evil plans. "Dib stink! Get out of Zim's lair!" he growled, clearly angry Dib had barged into his house without a clear reason. "No, Zim. I know you weren't at school today because of your new evil plans." Zim growled in frustration at how stupid the human was. "Leave Zim's house, or Zim will tear you apart." Zim left no time for Dib to respond, for he pounced onto the human, pinning him down. He glared into the human eyes, smirking, for he had the upper hand here. "Zim, you have evil plans, so show them to me now. I saw you in the cameras." Zim was taken aback by this. He didn't know he was being watched by the human. He was so shocked about this that Dib had the upper hand now. Dib grabbed Zim's face, pushing the Urkin away and pinning him down. "What do you want with Zim, human?" Zim yelled angrily. Dib held Zim down, looking into his eyes for a second before saying once more, "Zim, I know you have an evil plan." Zim suddenly slashed Dib with his pack, causing a deep wound on the boy's shoulder. He growled, getting off him, backing up. "Ugh!" Zim backed away, not meaning to necessarily hurt the human that bad. Furthermore, the alien growled, grabbing the human and throwing him outside into bitter coldness. Hey, Zim! Let me in, you stupid alien!" Dib sighed as he walked home angrily. Chapter 2. Truth Hurts. The next day was a nice, horrible day for both Zim and Dib. It was freezing cold, so Zim decided on staying home and working on some evil plan he had in mind. He had his Urkin goggles on and was working when suddenly he felt himself being picked up and thrown. What the? Gur, what gives?" Gur looked at his master while in duty mode. Strange. Zim never put Gur on duty mode. The great Zim never forgets, so there's no way I did that, Zim thought to himself. He looked at Gur confused, but Gur kept walking towards Zim with a silent glare. Zim backed up, unable to hide his fear. "Master must be destroyed," Gur said in a robotic, monotone voice. Zim's screen flashed, then cut on showing two ominous figures standing together. Zim watched in slight fear, his magenta eyes clearly showing the fear. He took a step back, Gur completely still as well. "Zim," the alien stared at the screen and confidently replied with, "How do you know Zim's name?" The screen was glitchy and voices could be heard. Suddenly, the tallists were seen. It almost seemed like they were looming right over Zim. "My tallists!" Zim was about to bow before his almighty tallest Red stopped him. "Zim, we have some very important news to tell you." Zim's antenna perked up instantly. "Yes, we have yet to find a suitable punishment," Purple said in a chilling tone. What? Zim doesn't understand my tallists. What could Zim have done? Zim thought panically. I was too late on my mission, wasn't I? More thoughts swarmed through the Urkin's head before Red cleared his throat, getting the worried Urkin's attention. Zim, you have been banished to Earth and shall never be allowed on Urk. If we spot you here ever, we will shoot. Zim froze. Every thought seemed to come true. But don't you ever contact us again, Zim. Oh, and Zim, your Gur will soon destroy you. So it was them who messed with Gur. The screen shut off, leaving Zim all alone. His antennae were flat on his head. His fists were curled up tightly, and warm, fresh tears streamed down his face. My own people have deserted Zim, and even Gur is gone. But at least I still have Minnie Moose. Zim looked around for Minnie Moose, but saw nothing. Not even Gur was there from earlier. Zim sighed as he lay in his alien bed that was too hard to any human but comfortable to an Urkin. He cried for a while, hating himself for his race deserting him. Finally, he fell asleep after a while. Chapter 3, The Hard Truth. Dib was sure Zim had some evil plans up his sleeves, so he made sure to stop by his house after school. It had been almost a month, and Zim had still not returned to school. He knocked on his door, but no one answered, not even Gur. The door creaked open abruptly, but no sign of a single soul. Dib stepped inside Zim's secret base, looking around cautiously. He was remembering that the last time he was here, he had barely made it out alive. Dib didn't hear a single sound, so he decided to do what he always wanted to do. Spy on Zim, more than he already does. He set up cameras in every inch of the place. After he was satisfied, he left and went straight to his room. He sat there for hours, looking at all the cameras, but there was no sign of Zim, or Gur, or Minnie Moose. Where is Zim? Did he... No, he couldn't have left. Dib finally left the computer and went to bed. Zim was pacing around the lab frantically. He couldn't sleep nor eat properly. He was paler than usual, his eyes were a lighter shade, and underneath they were dark from loss of sleep. His antennae were twitching every few minutes. His base was secluded from everyone. He couldn't contact his tallest. He couldn't find Gur nor Minnie Moose. He was completely alone. Zim can't live like this forever on this meaningless planet. He stumbled a bit, his eyes blurry. The Tallists can't leave Zim. An evil smile plastered Zim's face. If the Tallists won't trust Zim with this mission, then Zim will force the Tallists to trust him. Zim made his way to his lab invention part of his lab and started working on his brilliant plan. Many months passed, and Zim kept working. He was still in his horrible mental state, still hadn't talked to anyone. But he was fairly sane. Little did the Urkin know that he would soon get a visitor. Truth and lies. Zim! Dib yelled in Zim's base, not sure if Zim was still even there. He was in Zim's base, looking around, when he heard someone breathing hard. He was sure it was Zim, so he followed the sound to a room that had an alien bed with a small Urkin on it. His back faced Dib, and heavy breathing escaped him. Every breath seemed to hurt him. Dib walked a bit closer, unaware if this was a trick. Of course, it was a trick. Zim wasn't stupid. Well, entirely stupid. But Zim would have known if someone was in the house. Human Dib. Zim is resting. Dib jumped. It was Zim's computer. Oh. Is he okay? Dib asked, slightly uncomfortable. Zim had not slept in many months. He is recovering from working for due time. I warned him of your presence, but he told me he did not care anymore whether he lives or dies. Dib was quiet for some time before he sighed. Where is Gur, or Mini Moose? The Urkin Empire has taken them away, for Zim is a defect. They were planning on taking me away, but Zim protested that he needed me to survive. The monotone voice answered the human. I see. So his people banished him to die. Dib turned around when he heard the sound of someone trying to move from behind him. He saw Zim sitting up straight, looking at him with worried, tired eyes. He had severe bags underneath his eyes, and his antennae that normally sat straight on his head were down. He did not say a single word as he stared at Dib, and Dib stared right back. Dib, human, why have you... He paused for a second, seeming to swallow his spit. Have you come to take Zim into the leader's hands? Leader's hands? Oh, he must be talking about the government or police. Zim thought to himself before looking at Zim directly in the eyes. No, Zim. You have been gone for quite a while now. I was just checking up on you. Dib lied. Of course he was planning on taking him to the government. Maybe if I can get closer to him, he will trust me, and then everyone will believe me. I don't believe you, Dib, human. I heard what my computer told you, and now you know why Zim has been gone for so long. Many, months, as the time is long here. Dib nodded, sitting down. Zim was staring at him with very wide eyes, his antenna twitching. Zim, have you been working on that? Dib pointed to a huge metal gun-looking thing. Zim nodded, not looking at Dib now. His antenna was so flat as he stared at the ground. Zim was planning on making a new floor piece for the Earth. I was planning on fleeing once the hole was big enough to suck in the Earth and tear it to pieces. Zim then looked at Dib, sorrow filling his eyes. Before the Talists abandoned Zim, that was my plan. But I continued to build anyway. There was no use in building when you're a laughingstock for your people. Dib felt bad, but he didn't trust Zim. He knew that he had to be tricking him. He had to be. Zim, I'm sorry that your Talists left you. Zim looked back at Dib, fresh tears straining under his eyes. Does Dib really feel sorry? Dib tried not to laugh at the way Zim had said it. He had just nodded. Zim got up and went beside Dib and sat down. Zim no longer wishes to destroy Earth. You mean it, Zim? Zim growled. Zim doesn't lie about what he says. Dib put his hands up defensively. Okay, calm down. Say, Zim, you look tired. Maybe you should get some rest. Zim backed away. You're planning something, aren't you? Dib was indeed planning something, but he couldn't let Zim know. Of course not, Zim. Why would I be? Zim sighed, clearly tired. Zim doesn't trust Dib, human. But Zim needs rest, Zim stated sleepily as he made his way to his bed. Dib watched as Zim looked at him as he laid down with eyes half open. Zim, just rest, okay? I won't hurt you. Zim slowly closed his eyes, unable to keep them open any longer. Dib waited until he knew Zim was completely asleep before getting his handcuffs. He stood in front of Zim, looking down at him. Damn, he looks so cute. What? No, Dib. Don't think that. He's your enemy, for fuck's sake. He stared at him a bit longer before putting one of the handcuffs on Zim's hands. He was just about to put the other one on when he felt a hand grab the collar of his shirt. You lied to Zim, just like Zim's people. Dib looked at the Erkin, terrified of what Zim was going to do. Zim, you've tried to destroy Earth. Zim growled, clearly mad now. Zim told you, I no longer want to destroy Earth. No more, Dib, no more. Zim let go of Dib. Fine, take Zim away. Zim no longer wishes to be with Dib Thing if he treats Zim like this. Suddenly, Zim was standing over Dib, glaring and smirking. Laughs echoed from all over, bouncing off the walls. Zim grabbed Dim, putting him face to face. You were going to lock Zim up. You were going to put Zim in some testing tube. Zim growled. Well then, Dibby. Zim yanked Dib up and threw him into a testing tube full of liquid. Now it's my turn. Dib frantically tried to scream, but was unable to due to the captivity of the tube. His eyes and throat burned. Then the tube started to fill with darkness. It turned into a void that slowly consumed him bit by bit. No matter how loud he screamed, more liquid oozed. Unexpected visitor. Dib was surrounded by a pitch black. He felt occasional pinpricks on his head. He groaned, trying to sit up, but couldn't. Zim was poking Dib, trying to wake him up. The human seems to be in good state, Master Zim. Zim nodded. He had made his computer take analysis of Dib since he wasn't waking up. It had been a couple hours since he had fallen into the state, and Zim didn't know what to do. Dib had started to stir, making the alien jump a bit, as he cautiously looked at the Dib thing. Dib's eyes slowly opened up, showing his bright brown eyes. They pinpointed towards Zim's eyes. The alien was looking at Dib with worried eyes. Dib human! You're making all these odd noises and you wouldn't wake up from your state. Zim ran an analysis, but nothing seemed to be wrong. Dib sat up, rubbing his head. I'm fine, Zim. I was just in a deep sleep. Zim lowered his antennae, looking away from Dib. What is it? Dib asked. Human, why didn't you take Zim away? Zim knows you want to. Zim can see it in your eyes. Humans are terrible when it comes to telling lies. Dib sighed. Zim, I promise I won't take you into the leaders. I promise you, Zim. You have to trust me. Zim just nodded, giving up. Zim started shivering as he sat up. His entire body quivered from the cold. Dib scooted closer, grabbing the alien by the collar of his shirt and pulled him close. What are you doing, pathetic human? He squirmed, trying to get out of the tallest arms. Come on, Zim, just calm down. You look cold. Zim had to admit the human's body was pretty warm. Soon enough, Zim had stopped struggling. It was now purring in the other's arms. Oh, he's so cute, Dib thought as he was looking at Zim softly. Zim was curled up, his face in Dib's chest. What was that? Zim had jumped away from Dib, and was kind of freaked out. His eyes were wide and frantic as he scanned the area. Dib had also stood up and was a bit freaked out as well. I don't know. Zim carefully and cautiously went to the area of the noise, his packed legs out. "Who's there?" he called out. Suddenly, something flew at Zim, and Zim instinctively bashed it away with a pack leg. "Hey, master, that wasn't very nice." Zim was growling, but stopped once he heard a familiar voice. "Gur? How'd you get back here?" Gur stood up and walked towards Zim. "Well, you see, master, I was having a nice talk with the tallists, and they said that my master needed more. So here I am." Zim was kind of puzzled on how Gur actually got there. Okay, Gur. Hey, Mary! Gur jumped at Mary, Dib, and wrapped his arms around him. "Oh, Gur. Hey, buddy." Once Gur was down, Dib walked towards Zim. "Hey, Zim, I think it's time for me to go home. It's getting late." Zim nodded, knowing it was probably best for him to leave. And just like that, Dib left Zim's base, leaving the alien unaware of his motives. Zim sat alone in his room, watching the cameras he'd placed in Zim's house. Since he had been there, he had placed a bunch of hidden cameras in every single crevice of the base. "I've got you now," was the last thing Dib said as he put his computer up and went to bed, making sure to record everything. And Zim was unaware of the hidden motives Dib had. Sneak attack. The rain outside pattered on every rooftop. Thunder raged outside, causing a small Urkin to shiver at every noise. He was wrapped up in a blanket on his couch. The TV would flicker off and on, the TV show Gur loved so dearly. Little did he know that he was being watched by the very person he trusted. It had been many months since him and Dib had established their peace treaty. Zim could stay on Earth as long as he wouldn't destroy anyone, anything, or contact his leaders. Zim, of course, agreed. Not that he had any choice. His leaders deserted him, leaving him stranded and alone. Back at Dib's house, he was watching the Urkin. By now he knew everything about Zim, his race, his favorite food, how bored Zim gets, what he's afraid of, etc. He even knew how to cook Urkin food. Suddenly, there was a knock on the window, causing Dib to jolt. "Hey, Dib, human!" Dib immediately closed his computer, turning towards the alien that had just broken into his house. Zim, what are you doing here?" Zim wasn't in his disguise, so his antennae twitched at the question. Zim wanted to hang out, like, friends do. Dib nodded, knowing the real reason Zim was here. "You're afraid of the weather, aren't you?" Zim walked towards him, arms crossed. "Zim is not afraid of your puny earth weather." He stood proudly, one fist in the air. Dib was looking down at the alien with a smirk. He anticipated whether or not he actually wanted to strike down at the adorable alien. "Hey Zim, why don't we get some food? I can prepare something for you." Zim nodded happily. His stomach was already growling. They went downstairs, Zim in the front. Zim looked around the quiet house. "Where's the rest of your residents?" Dib answered quickly. "Oh, they went out. They'll be back soon." Zim nodded as he continued to the kitchen. Suddenly, Zim fell to the floor, pink blood coming out of the side of his head. His eyes lay half away as purple saliva escaped from his mouth. Dib, human, Dib had a pole in his hand as he looked down at the alien with amusement. Zim, I want to experiment on you. Zim started to pass out. Blackness surrounded him, and soon he was gone. Dib grabbed the alien and dragged him to his dad's lab. Hours had passed, and Zim started to wake up. He shivered as he woke on a very cold table. His wrists and ankles were bound, and his body lay naked. He struggled and pulled as hard as he could at the restraints, but couldn't get free. Dib! Dibby! Dib sat in a chair a bit away from Zim. Well, well! I was starting to think I killed my sweet alien. Zim looked at Dib and sat up as far as he could, snarling. You imbecile! Let Zim go now, and Zim won't tear you to pieces! Dib laughed hard and stood up. Oh, Zimmy, you can't escape. You're mine now. You heard your tallists. They aren't coming back. And no one cares for you, Zim. Zim looked around cautiously. He saw his dad's lab before, and it looked nothing like this. Where are we, Dib human? Dib walked around the shivering alien with a sadistic smile. Oh, you wouldn't like to know. Suddenly, Zim knew where he was. His eyes widened as he growled at Dib. Be a good boy and keep quiet. Dib went over to a drawer and grabbed something from inside it. He laid some stuff on the table Zim was on. Dib? Dib said nothing as he grabbed one of the tools and brought it towards Zim. It was a saw. No, don't! Zim will be a good boy. A smirk plastered on Dib's face as he brought it up to Zim's stomach. Blood dripped to the ground as a saw was embedded into Zim. His wails and screams echoed throughout the lab. Blood trickled out of the corners of his mouth as Zim struggled and gasped for air. Then he felt a tug, and the blade was ripped out. What? Why? Dib grabbed Zim's face and looked at him straight in the eyes. Because, Zimmy. Dib grabbed where his neck was and started to tug, and revealed. Secret revealed. Zim grabbed where his neck was and tugged, and he revealed that he was not Dib. Zim's eyes widened when he saw who was doing this to him. Keith! Zim tugged at the restraints hard. Oh, Zimmy, you should have just been my boyfriend, and all this nonsense wouldn't have to happen. Zim had tears in his face from pain, but he ignored it. Where's Dib? What did you do to Zim's friend? Keith growled, unable to hide his anger. Zim, just forget him. He's dead anyway. Keith walked towards Zim and placed a hand on his cheek. Now be a good alien and wait for me. You must be hungry. Keith walked up the creaky steps. Zim glared at him as he left. Zim tugged at the restraints as hard as he could. His pink blood was oozing out, making him weak. His pack beeped. Pack unable to repair. Zim started to black out, but before that, he heard someone walking down the steps. The footsteps got closer. Zim. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. All that he could do was stay put until he finally passed out. Oh shit! Zim, wake up! It was Dib. He had come to save his alien from Keith. Dib was injured bad, but not like Zim. He got the restraints off and carefully carried him out of the basement. He was inside of Keith's home. He looked around and made sure to stay quiet. The front door is just right there. He looked at Zim, who was shaking. I've got to get him out of here, or he'll bleed out. Dib ran for it. He didn't look back, he just ran for the door. He carefully and quietly opened it. An alarm rang throughout the house. Intruder alert. Dib panicked and quickly ran out of the house. He ran towards his house. He couldn't go to the hospital. They would find out if Zim was an alien. Wait, what am I thinking? If I show Zim to the authorities, then everyone will believe me. They won't think I'm crazy. Dib stopped. He stared at Zim's face. He seemed to be in a lot of pain, obviously. He wanted so bad to give Zim up. But if he did that, he'd lose his only friend. He sighed and walked up to his house. He opened the front door and was welcomed by his father. "Ah, son, what happened?" His father saw the wounds on both him and the alien. "Dad, we were kidnapped by Keith." Dib explained everything to his dad from the beginning, leaving out the fact that he was going to turn in Zim. By now Dib and Zim were taken care of. Zim was in Mr. Membrane's lab being looked at by his father. "Dad, what are you going to do with him?" The scientist looked at his son and sighed. "Well, I'm going to test on him. He is an alien after all. It's for science, after all." Dib's eyes widened. "No, Dad, please don't do that." "And why not, son?" Dib was only about to reply, but was stopped when he heard Zim start to wake up. He looked around and saw a lab, then jumped up scared to death. "Zim, it's okay, calm down." Zim backed away from them, eyes widened. "Dib, why are we in the lab?" Dib looked at his father, who had a scalpel in hand. Zim then knew why. He growled as he got his pack legs out and grew taller. "Zim, it isn't what it looks like, I swear. We were just taking care of you. Look, your wounds are all healed." Zim snarled in disbelief. "You humans are so bad at lying. Your father has a human tool for cutting, Dib thing." Dib's father put the scalpel down and looked at the alien. "Zim, I won't experiment on you, but you must calm down." Zim was glaring at him, but soon nodded, putting his pack legs up. "Fine. Zim does not trust humans such as you, but he trusts the Dib. If you come any closer to me, I will kill you." Dib walked towards Zim and got to his level, looking him in the eyes. "Zimmy, are you hungry?" The Urkin's stomach growled at the thought of food. The truth was he was starving. He hadn't eaten in a while. He nodded, clearly hungry. Dib stood up and picked the Urkin up. "Hey, human! Let Zim go! Zim does not require your assistance." His antennae twitched at the feeling of human's warmth. He stopped talking and snuggled into Dib's chest and purred. Dib's father wrote some stuff down. Like father, like son, I suppose. Dib knew the alien's weakness was warmth, so he got Zim to do basically anything. After they all ate, it was time for bed. Dib and Zim sharing a bed. Zim was snuggled up to Dib, and Dib was petting the Urkin behind his antenna. "Zim?" Zim looked up at Dib. "Human?" Dib swallowed. "I have something I have to tell you. I like you." Zim tilted his head. "Zim likes you, human." "No. I mean, I love you, Zim." And that's the end of that short, cute little fan fiction. I was reading it for the first time as I was reading it aloud, so I'm not sure if my my smile, you could hear my smile as I saw, you know, the plot twists of Keith and whatnot. While being, you know, it's short, definitely. I think if there would ever to be a rewrite, maybe some, you know, I think some parts are missing about, like, what the heck's Keith even doing? Like, when did Dib get kidnapped? Like, all these things, you know. But I think you get the gist of it. I think for me, it's just enough to where it's like, wow, oh my god, like, plot twist, you know. Anyway, that is it for this video. I intend on my next ZADR fanfiction reading to be multiple parts. I was actually going to be reading this with Dora, because we were together a few weeks ago, but I guess it just got ahead of us. So anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you all liked it. If you did, what the fuck, I don't do my outros like this. Anyway, please remember to drink water and love yourself, because I love you. And I'll see you all soon in the next video. Bye bye.